In the entirety of the world, there are about 16 million Jews total, and 8 million of them live here. The rest live mostly in New York or South Florida and a few other places.
Okay.
So this is a small population of people.
And
they have connection to this land, historically, biblically.
Do they?
Yes, they do.
If Bibi's family, we know they lived in Eastern Europe. There's no evidence they ever lived here. He's not religious.
But
in what sense?
How do we know that?
Do you have his family tree? No, we don't.
Do you?
He doesn't. So no one does. That's the point.
But
so how do we know that he has any connection to this land at all?
And if there has been a practice of Judaism and a connection to the language, the Bible, the land.
His ancestors didn't. He doesn't practice Judaism in any rigorous way. His ancestors didn't live here. They didn't speak the language, and there's no evidence they ever lived here. So on what basis does he have a right to be here?
Very much speaks the language. Well, he has fought for the land. His family has fought for the land.
Dodging a very obvious question, which is, where does this right come from? And the reason it's meaningful is because there are a lot of people in the territory that Israel controls today, particularly in the West Bank, who, through genetic testing, we can know their families have been here for thousands of years. We don't know whether they practiced Judaism, whether they were Samaritans, pre-Islam. We don't know that. A lot of them we know have been Christians for 2,000 years. They have less of a right to the land than someone whose ancestors, the only thing we know about them is they lived in Latvia or Poland. They're Eastern European. How does that work?
They're Jewish.
By what definition?
They're Jewish.
They're Jewish by their...
But how do we know they have any
ethnicity? They're Jewish by their faith. They're Jewish by the connection to the language. Jewish by the connection to the Torah.
But how do we know that Bibi, specifically Bibi's
Weird, he didn't say by blood.
Ever lived here? How do we know that?
Largely what he's getting at.
I'm not sure if I understand your question.
How do we know if the Prime Minister of Israel's ancestors ever lived?
Maybe I could ask you, how do we know they didn't? I mean,
well, it's on the basis of the claim that they did that all kinds of things happen. People are displaced. There's a money flow. I mean, it's a big question. A lot
how do we know they didn't?
It's not some theoretical thing like, oh, you know, did my grandparents do this or do that? It's like, no, we have a right to be here because my ancestors were here. Okay, how do we know they were here?
How do we know they didn't?
I'm totally unable to process what you're trying to get at.
Because he's thinking too much. Listen, you don't have to have a good memory if you speak the truth. That's Judge Judy. How do we know they did it? It's like, okay, then you could have a claim to anything, man. I have a claim to your donut. Says who? How do you know? How do you know I don't? Give me all your money. Give me all your donuts. I have a claim to them. Yeah, how do you know I don't have a claim to the Holy Land? Exactly. You're trying to prove like a negative. You're like, I don't think that's how it works. You're the one who's positing they have a claim to the land. He's asking for the evidence and how that makes any sense. And you're like, well, how do you know they don't? You cannot reason someone out of something they were never reasoned into. Absolutely. It's more of like a social thing. And you have like a couple pieces of evidence, Jews, and it says it in the Bible right here. And then they go, oh, sounds good to me. And then all the money and all the status and all the power just kind of reinforces that. And they have to, they then build this, you know, empire of dirt, right? This empire of disgusting trash that they're on top of. And they can't give that up, right? It's like the sunk cost fallacy. At this point, you just can't.
Why are millions of Epstein files still classified? Why do you think that is?
I have no idea. I haven't kept up with that. I've never met the man. I don't know him.
You haven't kept up with the Epstein disclosure?
I mean, only from a distance. I'm 6,000 miles away from D.C. these days. And
Are you 6,000 miles away from your phone, bro? Are you 6,000 miles away from a TV? I don't think so.
That there's so much going on.
The current president of Israel, current president, who I know you know, President Herzog.
Know him very well.
Apparently was at Pedo Island. That's what it says in the disclosures. And of course, we know that the former Prime Minister, Barak, was living on and off at Epstein's house. So still living high-level Israeli officials are directly implicated in Epstein's life, if not his crime. So I would think that you'd be following this.
Only, I was not aware that there was any connection with President Herzog. I would be surprised to hear that, and knew there was about the former Prime Minister.
Oh, so you are following it. Oh.
Dealings with Epstein.
Business dealings. And by the way, I'm not alleging anything, but I mean, In the Epstein Files, and
you see how he reels it back in. He sort of says, "Oh, I don't know anything about it. I'm 6,000 miles away." Then he goes, "Yeah, Ehud Barak was in there," and he goes, "I did know about that. I did know about that. Oh yeah, okay."
That I've heard the current president of Israel respond to it, but he is listed as a visitor to Pedo Island, so that's kind of a big deal. I wonder, considering there are so many suggestions in the files, as I'm sure you know, of sexual abuse, and given that Jeffrey Epstein was a convicted sex offender, I wonder why the administration you work for would be holding millions of files, which I believe belong to the public, hidden for, quote, national security reasons. What would those national security reasons be, do you think?
Honestly, I think you've probably got more access to the White House sometimes than I do. You should ask them.
Well, but you're the government official representing that White House.
What?
In Israel. And I represent the U.S. in Israel to the Israeli government from the U.S. government. But honestly, nobody has presented that to us.
Well, now
we have a pretty dynamic situation here. I don't know if you know that or not, but there's a lot going on in this part of the world. And frankly, that has not been top line item.
But you're surprised to hear that the current president of Israel, whom you know, is listed as a visitor to Pedo Island.
Had never heard that. Never heard it even in the Israeli press.
Are you going to ask him next time you see him?
I wonder
why. To talk to him almost every week.
I guess what I'm asking is not simply as a representative of my government or a high U.S. official, but just as like a man and a father and a Christian. How could you resist saying, like, were you on Pedo Island with Jeffrey Epstein?
Well, if I'm not aware of it. And secondly, there are a lot of things that go on in the world. I don't question every single person about every single thing that may be alleged about.
Country.
I understand all that, but this is the first I've ever heard of this. So why do you expect me to have knowledge of something like that?
Well, because you attacked me personally for suggesting that Jeffrey Epstein had ties to Mossad, and you said that.
You think he does?
What's very clear he does from the files.
You think he does? From where do you get that?
Well, the fact that he was in contact repeatedly with members of the Israeli government, including the current president and the former prime minister, and all kinds of Israeli intel-connected people. I'm not saying he worked for Mossad. I don't think we know that. But there's no question that he had extensive contact with CIA.
But I think you said it, a turning point event. Everybody knows Jeffrey Epstein.
I said everyone thinks, and it turns out everyone was right, that he did have.
I'm not sure everyone was right or everyone thinks.
How is he following a stupid turning point event and what goes on there, but he's not following the Epstein Files? He's 6,000 miles away from the Epstein Files, but he has enough time to watch a Turning Point USA event?
Thanks.
Okay, but you said that I was lying, and I don't want to make this about me.
I don't think I said you were lying, Tucker. I don't recall.
I'm just saying, why don't we release all the files, and then we don't need to guess?
I got no problem with that. Go ahead.
Would you call on it? Well, because you weighed in on it and said that this was not true.
Is that what Whitney Webb said?
No evidence.
2% have been released.
Well, there's quite a bit of evidence, but you haven't apparently bothered to read any of the files. Is that what you're saying?
I have not read the Epstein Files. Apparently you have.
Well, they're on the internet.
But when you say that that everybody knows that Jeffrey Epstein was a Mossad agent.
That everyone believes that.
I don't think everybody does. I don't know.
Well, everyone knows that he had contact with, and by the way, not just Israeli intelligence, American intelligence, which is much more distressing for me. I'm not Israeli, I'm American. I don't want my government having any contact with someone like Jeffrey Epstein. So the shame
I wouldn't either.
Is on the United States, as far as I'm concerned, just to be totally clear about that. Everyone's very sensitive about the Israel connection, not at all sensitive about the U.S. connection, which I find very revealing. We should care about what our government does first, I think. But since you weighed in on it and said there's no evidence, I'm surprised that since that evidence has been open to the public for a month, since you've already weighed in publicly on this question, that you've made no effort to evaluate that evidence.
Just a load of crap. It sounds like he's reading from a script, dude. That's literally what it sounds like. All these canned answers and responses. Yeah, this guy sounds like someone who has been given a really comfortable life and promised safety if he stays out of certain things, keeps his head down, doesn't speak out of turn. Yeah, that's what I think it is. I think a lot of the dispensational, like Schofield Bible bullshit is just cover. I think they're like, hey, if some people can buy into it, that's good for us. But I don't think that is everybody. I think a lot of these people they know, hey, man, we got a pretty good thing going here, man. Let's not blow up our spot. LaMayo, he's so defensive. I don't recall. Yeah. I don't recall.
Spent a lot of time thinking about the right of the Jewish people to their homeland. Do the Irish have the same right to a homeland?
as long as they can defend it, and as long as they,
as long as they can defend it.
But Tucker, here's the point.
Honestly, I would respect that position if he held that position firmly, because he could say, well, hey, the Jewish people are defending their homeland really well by infiltrating our government and utilizing our military. Hey, they're defending their homeland. It's like, okay, all right. And the Irish people are not defending their homeland well. That almost like seems like, okay, as bullshit as that is, I almost feel like I would respect that position. But then he gets into all this crap where he wants to twist and contort the Bible and like this weird religious fanaticism, Zionism. It's like, then you get like, what the fuck, dude? Just say you're a Jewish shill, bro. Just say you love the money. Just say they're defending it and they're doing a great job. Okay, just be out with it. Just be honest.
Wait, hold on. Now you just flipped category. You're the minister here.
Yeah, and I'm telling you,
as long as they can defend it, and if they can't defend it, they lose
me
the
to tell you that I think that what is
he's
very,
like divine
very
given
is
right.
There is a biblical as well as an
now
ethnic,
he flips it back to
and a historical. So you can take any one, but if you add them all together, biblical, historical, and ethnic, you have a very strong case that the Jewish people are living in a land that is indigenous to them.
Strong
that
case.
Has been their historic homeland for 3,800 years.
You can repeat it
and you can also look in the archaeology. The stones cry out.
Okay.
Have you been to the city of David, for example?
I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you know then that.
And I love it.
It's an amazing place.
Agree.
It may be the greatest archaeological discovery in all of history because
great.
It's stunning.
It's pretty great.
And they still continue to find things that date the Jewish people to this land archaeologically for 3,800 years.
We can date the British people to their land much longer, thousands of years longer. Stonehenge is 3,000 years older than any building built by the descendants of Abram in this country. And so it's fine. I'm not trying to invalidate anyone's right. I'm just wanting you to affirm that right, but it makes you uncomfortable and you won't. And I don't know why.
Because I've never honestly sat down and asked myself, are the lines around the
It's an
United
island, so we know what the
Kingdom,
lines are.
I'm saying, but are those lines, are those rooted in something other than the historical connection? Well, great, then they should have it. But that's
they have
a
a
question.
right to have it. But then you said if they can defend it, and if they can't defend it, they lose the right.
But I didn't say it was exclusive one or the other. I think you're really going off the trail.
I just want to know if these principles apply universally or if they only apply to the people of Israel. And my answer appears to be just the people of Israel. They're the only ones with these rights, and I just reject that.
Yeah, that's really what it is. And in this clip, he essentially, I think if this is the clip, he's essentially like straight up asked him, like, do you feel bad about murdering children? Do you feel bad about murder? Do you does it keep you awake at night that you're murdering children, Mike Huckabee? He's like, wait, hold on there, Tucker.
I wish that none of those people in Gaza had been killed after October the 8th. Well, I say not none of them. I'm glad Mohammed Sinwar was killed. I'm glad that some of those warriors, the people who masterminded and carried out the atrocities of October 7th.
14-year-old Hamas operatives, how do you feel about their deaths?
If they participated in that, then God help them. I'm telling you,
what does
Tucker,
that mean, God help
I don't know that they were 14 years. No, but I'm telling you,
are you happy
that when
that
someone
you killed
commits
children?
the acts of atrocity and then they hold hostages, if these were your children being held hostage in Gaza, what would you do to get them out?
I wouldn't want to kill 14-year-olds. I'll tell you that.
Let me ask you something. Would you do whatever it took to get your kids back if they were being tortured, raped, starved,
I would
and
not
beaten?
kill children, period.
Well, I'm just telling you.
And I would never make excuses for killing children either.
And I'm not talking about targeting children. I'm talking about...
You told me that 14-year-olds deserve to die because they were working for Hamas.
I'm telling you...
My question is, can you hear yourself?
I do hear myself.
So do you think a 14-year-old child has agency? Do you think that he deserves to die because he's being used by adults? Isn't his death a crushing tragedy?
If he's holding a gun and he's pointing it at someone who's trying to save a hostage, and the only way to save that hostage... I'm telling you, war is a horrible thing. It's a horrible thing. And a lot of innocent people
I'm the one who thinks war is a horrible thing.
No. I think what you don't
I'm trying to explain how horrible it is, and you're saying that the 14-year-old deserved to die.
Jeez, Tucker, come with the smoke. Do you feel sad that you pooped your diaper today? What? Yes. I mean, no. I mean, no. I mean, It's like listening to Worm Tongue, yeah. This guy is a religious cultist. He is a traitor, and his religion is the world domination of a foreign country. Absolutely. Parents in Gaza could say the same thing about those held captive by the IDF, but they're not Israelis, so it doesn't matter that much, clearly. And really, they have more of a moral ground to stand on, because the Israelis are the ones who are colonizing them, who are oppressing them, who are coming into their land. They have been since the 1940s.
There have been Americans in prison in Israel. There have also been, and there continue to be, dozens and dozens and dozens of sex offenders, accused sex offenders from the United States who fled to Israel, including one recently, an Israeli government official who was caught trying to molest a 15-year-old girl and fled to Israel and is not going back to the United States to stand charges for attempted molestation of a child. Have you advocated for the Israeli government to return him to the United States?
I'm not familiar with that case. It has not come to us at the embassy. So I'm not aware. Is this the person in Nevada?
Deny. I don't know anything about it.
County, I would imagine so.
He knows it's in Nevada,
but I heard about it through open source media. It was never something that was presented to us, but I would have no problem with him being extradited back to the U.S.
You're the president's and our country's representative in the state of Israel, so I think it would fall to you to advocate with your friend, the prime minister, to say, wait a second, we have a very close relationship. We're obviously the single largest source of outside funding for this country. How can you take an accused child molester and shield him from American justice, send him back to the United States? Have you ever had that conversation?
He's not aware, guys. Yeah, give him a break.
No, because the prime minister would not be the proper person
that may be right,
Israel.
Pardon my ignorance. But
that would deal with an extradition. It would go through their court system. And so the prime minister is separate, very similar to what we have in the U.S., where there is a separation of powers. So it would go through something other than the prime minister.
Have you advocated
they're just like us.
To the courts, to judges, to anybody in the Israeli justice system?
There has never been a request for me to engage in that. I would be happy to do it if the White House sent a message to me. I do work for the president. I serve at his pleasure. If anyone at the White House were to say to me, would you please go and make a case for it? But probably if that were to happen, it wouldn't come through the embassy as much as it would likely come from the Department of Justice at the U.S. in D.C. They would make the request. They might involve us, but they very likely would not.
Does it seem strange to you that people accused of child molestation in the United States are allowed to have refuge within the borders of our closest ally? How that doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I would say that
if you've molested an American child, shouldn't you be required to stand justice?
It's an allegation. Let's be clear. One of the things about our system of jurisprudence, you're innocent until you're proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. So if the charges are there, should he be extradited? I would say so.
The charges are there.
Yeah. Okay. So they should be, but that's a Justice Department decision, and they're the ones who should be pursuing it. To my knowledge, they haven't. They certainly haven't engaged the U.S. Embassy.
Why would the Israeli government harbor fugitives from justice in the United States?
I'm not sure that
there are dozens and dozens and dozens. In fact, there's an Israeli group that keeps track of them that is dedicated, Jewish Israeli group dedicated to combating the molestation of children, and keeps a long list. And you can look it up. And
Tucker, I hope you're not saying that you think the Israelis support the molestation of children.
Obviously, I'm not saying that.
Okay,
I'm saying that the Israeli government shields accused child molesters from justice in the United States.
I'm not sure I could say that that's something that is provable. I don't know. But I am not aware that the Israeli government is shielding people.
Well, they are, and I'll give you and I just want to make sure that I pronounce this man's name correctly. It's Tom, I believe, Alexandrovich. I think that's right, and I've written it down, but of course my handwriting is so terrible I can't read it. But yes, he is an Israeli, I believe, cybersecurity official who was at a conference in Las Vegas last year and was caught up in a sting designed to catch people soliciting sex from children. He was one of a number of people arrested for this. He was arraigned and charged. And then 2 days later, he fled to Israel and did his first hearing by Zoom. He was allowed for some reason to leave for a foreign country, having already been charged for a attempted molestation of a child, and he remains here now. And there have been many news stories about this, and I just wonder if you would ask the Israeli government to put him on a plane and send him back to face justice for attempting to molest an American child. It doesn't seem complicated.
Shit, man.
The Israeli government, I believe, Alexandrovich. I think that's Tom. I believe. Make sure that I pronounce this man's name correctly. It's Tom. I believe Alexandrovich.
I remember hearing about this. Oh, dude. Oh my! There it is. The Zoom call. Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, 8 child sex predators arrested during undercover operation. Tom Alexandrovich. I wonder if any of these other people got extradited. What do you guys think? They all face felony charges of luring a child with computer for a sex act and were booked into the Henderson Detention Center with the exception of Duncan, who was booked to the Clark County Detention Center. Wow. And he got extradited back to Israel. And a senior Israeli official accused of child sex crimes in the U.S. has failed to appear for a scheduled court hearing in his case weeks after he returned to Israel, prompting concerns that he may have fled to avoid facing trial. Yeah, dude, they're covering this shit up. They're protecting him. Alexandrovich was released and allowed to return to Israel after being charged with luring or attempting to lure a child online to get. Why was he released and allowed to return? His release without travel restrictions has led to speculations that may have received preferential treatment due to the close ties between the U.S. and Israel. Yeah, no shit. As outrage grew over allowing Alexandrovich to leave the country last week, acting U.S. Attorney for the District of Nevada, Sigal Chattah, a Trump appointee, pointed the finger at local prosecutors. It's always like blaming other people. And we have separation, right? We have separation of powers. So then you can always just keep endlessly pointing the finger at whoever fucked up until you never get any resolution. A liberal district attorney and state court judge in Nevada failed to require an alleged child molester to surrender his passport, which allowed him to flee our country. It's the woke left allowed him to leave, guys. Dude, don't you see this scam, this bullshit scam? They're using this woke pretext to fly undercover under it, to do whatever the hell they want, and then you just blame it on the other side. What a bunch of crap. A liberal district attorney, let him go. He's a DEI hire. They let him go. He's too stupid. No, you idiot. Israel fucking runs our country, bro, and they let him return. And they took him in with open arms, and now they're covering for it. That's what's happening.
How many boots on the ground has the U.S. placed on behalf of Israel?
However many went to Iraq. We did that for Israel.
No, I don't think we did.
But you said we did it because of 9/11?
That was the U.S. justification for it.
But it wasn't for 9/11. So what was the actual reason?
Well, the U.S. government told us it was for 9/11. They told us that they were part of it, that they had weapons of mass destruction.
But they knew they had nothing to do with 9/11, obviously.
Maybe
There's no
not.
evidence.
But I'm
so what
you
was the actual
Israel
reason?
was not in that component. But
Israel had no influence on our decision to invade Iraq. That's not what the people who made the decision say. They say Israel.
Well, let me get back to the point.
Gave us that information about the fake weapons of mass destruction. Where do you think that came from? It came from Bibi.
How many Americans put their boots on the ground for Israel? The answer is zero.
Everybody who served in Iraq put their boots on the ground for Israel.
Did not.
Where did we get the information about the weapons of mass destruction that wasn't real?
We didn't get that from. You're saying we got that from Israel? That Israel was one pushed us into that?
Well, absolutely.
You really believe that?
I know that for a fact. And so does every. Yes, this has been widely written about and discussed. And I'm not attacking Israel. Like, they thought it was in their interest to take out a government that was paying the families of suicide bombers. I get it. I'm not mad at Israel about that. I never have been. I'm mad at the Bush administration and all the people who went along with this to the detriment of my country. That's who I'm mad at, not Israel. Bibi's doing what he can for his country, whether you agree with him or not. I want my leaders to do the same for my country. That's it.
That's a steady position to take, and that's what Mike Huckabee should be doing. But instead, he's trying to shill this crap. This God promised them this land. You hear? He promised them all this land, so you be giving your tithe to them. Y'all be paying up now. It's like, just tell us that, yeah, I'm a shill for Israel. They're paying for me, and they're going to do what they want in their benefit. Okay, well, I can respect that and understand that a lot more. A realist kind of geopolitical look at this. It's like, okay, yeah, they're going to do what they want to do. Let's not be coy or try and lie about it, right? Let's not talk around that point. Yeah, Bibi literally addressed American lawmakers in D.C. testifying that there were weapons of mass destruction, and Huckabee pretends not to remember that. Also, clean break memo, hello, that came out like 10 years prior. Hello, they said literally exactly what they wanted to do, and what happened? Literally that. knock off 7 countries in 20 years or whatever it was.
Israel goes to links that no other country, including ours, goes to in the middle of an urban war. And yet Israel ended up with fewer civilian deaths in an urban war than any urban war of record.
You said you didn't know how many civilian deaths there were. So how can you say that?
If you took Gaza's numbers, Hamas's numbers,
you said you don't know what the numbers are.
We don't.
You just told me that. Then how can you say it's a lower number?
But if you took the numbers that they reported, which is like 50,000, 24, 25,000 of those were actual warriors. How many civilians? If you took all of their numbers,
range from 120 to 78. Those are the ones I just read. I don't know if that's real. I don't know either. I'm asking you.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, those numbers I've not heard, have not read. The numbers that I think are more reportable are somewhere in the 60,000 range.
Where do those come from?
From the Gaza Health Ministry,
but which is those Hamas. Were invalid numbers.
I think they are. I don't think that they're accurate, but I'm saying
You're saying they're inaccurate, but they prove that Israel's doing a great job?
Let's assume that the most widespread numbers, the largest numbers that have been reported out of Gaza by Hamas,
yes,
let's assume they're true. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying they are true, but assume they're true. Let's just take them at their word. Then you still have a lower number of civilians killed than in any urban warfare environment in modern history. Fact.
Is that a fact?
Yes.
What are you comparing it to?
To any urban warfare.
Name one.
Iraq.
Where in
Afghanistan?
Iraq? Where in Iraq? Where in Afghanistan? There aren't many urban areas in Afghanistan. I don't think there was any fighting in urban areas in Afghanistan.
Kabul?
I don't know. Were there pitched battles in Kabul over long periods of time? I don't.
20 years.
In Kabul? I don't.
Throughout all of Afghanistan.
But what were those rates?
You're talking about what are the rates there?
The
number of people who were killed into the tens of thousands. I'm asking you to.
I don't know the answer. I've never heard of any of this.
Now he's asking him.
The IDF has killed a lower proportion of civilians in urban warfare than in any urban conflict in modern history.
You made the
claim.
Never
heard that before.
And I don't know
what are the controls for that. And you said, well, the U.S. military killed more civilians.
Would you agree that the real tragedy was that Hamas continued to force this war?
Hold on. You just once again said that the IDF is more humane than the United States military. You just said that. You said in Iraq and Afghanistan, the U.S. military killed more civilians than the IDF did in Gaza. You just told me that. I never heard that before. And my question is, how do you know that? What are those numbers?
And I'm trying to explain to you that there were extraordinary efforts to keep
the number of numbers, do you?
I think they were tens of thousands. I'll get them for you.
Well, you brought it up. That's the only reason I'm pushing
you. But I'm wearing a flag.
He said, well, you brought him up. That's the only reason why I'm pushing you. Tucker has this he has this weird energy that's like extremely passive, almost like a naive, goofy dad type energy. But then at the same time, he's just like, he pushes really hard on certain, like he goes hard when he needs to. And he's very much like aloof about things, which I think it's fucking hilarious. He said, the IDF killed less people in an urban environment than anybody in recent modern history. Okay, where? Iraq? Really? Afghanistan? Where in Afghanistan? What are the numbers? What are they? I don't know. You tell me. Like, what the fuck? Yeah, I made the claim, but you need to answer. You need to answer that claim. Okay.
I work for a country, and you pretended or alleged that somehow I'm not loyal to this and that I'm criticizing my own country, and I'm not.
They did a better job than the U.S. military in Iraq and Afghanistan. And I said, what are the numbers? And you said, I don't know. So on what basis are you making the claim that the IDF in Gaza spared more civilians than the U.S. Army and Marine Corps did in Afghanistan and Iraq? Why are you saying that? Like, on what basis are you saying that?
On what basis
From the conversations that I've had with the people who fought there. And I don't have the exact numbers for you.
He flips it around and says, well, on what basis didn't they do that? I don't know. Why don't you prove that? Prove that negative. It's just part of the humiliation, watching no one go to jail. Yeah. Yeah, this is why so many people are into cuck porn nowadays. Because we're all in the cuck chair. America's in the eternal cuck chair. We're all just sitting by and we're like, yep. Watching as it happens.